Well,
So
she's our new podiatrist that has joined, and I wanted to kind of introduce her to our followers, the community. Just get to know her a little bit.
that's awesome. Are you a new grad?
Yes, I graduated June 30th. It's still kind of sinking in.
Oh wow, wait, that's not even that long ago. That's like 3 months ago. Did you
It
take
feels
some time off?
I came out here in July and just was kind of like waiting to get my privileges to start. So I had some time off and just was figured out my new life out here, trying to stay busy, working out a lot. If so, that was pretty nice.
Oh, working, yeah, that's music to our ears.
There you
What do
go.
you do? Running,
Then you are a
hiking?
buff doc. There we go. That's what we talk about here.
Yeah, what do you do? Running, hiking, lifting?
I do all of the above. I probably run 30 miles a week and then I cross train a lot.
What? Hey, we got to go
That's
running
awesome.
together. I ran 5 miles this morning. My legs are dying.
We should go running together. I love having like a group run.
Awesome. Yeah.
So you guys run. That's awesome. I try to avoid running if I can.
You're just trying to get that gains, man.
Sometimes I do it playing basketball with my son, but we haven't done that in a while. Yeah, it's good. You know what? It feels good, like just to kind of shake it off, like Taylor Swift says. You can't really do that without running. If you lift, like things get contracted, like deep down. You know what I mean? And then like the run just kind of like, oh yeah,
I
just
was
shake it all off.
studying and I remember I read this one line like 3-4 times and it just did not make sense to me. And I was like, this is so annoying. Went for a run and I read the line. I'm like, well, of course it's this. So it's definitely a good stress reliever.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, you get
Sharpens
into that. What is that called? The runner's high, where you tune things off, and yeah. Sometimes I get that way on the bike. Like you can just go forever. But I think my ADD and my middle-aged joints don't like running as much.
I'm telling
still do
you,
it.
I'm telling you, bikes are so dangerous. It's right next
Well,
to a car.
I go on the trails, dude. I think we talked about this last time. I haven't been wearing my helmet though. I have been kind of dangerous. That's right, Iceman. I am dangerous.
I love it.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Top Gun, yes.
Yeah, that's right. And even the sequel was really good. I couldn't believe how good the sequel was. I think I like the sequel more than the first one.
I kind of like the sequel more too. I was like, let's see it. I watched it with some of my co-residents. We were all just like, oh my gosh, this is
awesome. Yeah. And I think when I think about Top Gun, like it's always like a great sad movie. Like it's a great action movie, but there's an overwhelming sadness attached to it too. But this time he kind of fixed it. He even gave himself a nice happy ending with like, Jennifer Connelly of all people. I mean, of course, flying away. Come on, Tom Cruise. There's nothing else for a man to accomplish on this earth. He's just freaking did everything.
Exactly.
That man is amazing, and he's always in good shape.
Yeah.
Never gets old.
Yeah, there's just so much you can do when you're healthy and strong. And I was talking to someone today. She was telling me like how some of the tele nurses, she feels like they're being hypocritical if they're recommending lifestyle changes to the patients on telemetry. They've had heart issues when they themselves are not healthy. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. Like that's a fundamental part of advice, isn't it? To kind of follow your own advice.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a good point about these celebrities. Like, if you see some of the celebrities who smoked and drank and gained, like who's that? Russell Crowe? Who's the guy from the Gladiators?
Yeah, Russell Crowe.
He just destroyed himself.
Oh yeah. I don't know why. Like, I have a theory about those guys. There's like a bunch of guys. They're a little bit older than my generation, or maybe they're my generation. He's definitely older, but like they really got into the culinary scene, like maybe they were like really into working out, but they get so much gratification from that dopamine from all this food, and just like I get it. I've been heavier a few times, and I really enjoyed my food, more than anything else. But yeah, you would think they would get more roles and stuff if they were in better shape, but they don't care at that point, I guess. They don't have that hunger.
It's not the age. Russell Crowe's 60 years old. Ben Affleck
Is
is
he?
52. But you see these pictures of Ben Affleck smoking and just,
Oh, yeah.
And then you look at Tom Cruise. Man, this guy hasn't aged at all. How old is
Yeah.
Tom?
Oh, what about Paul Rudd? He's the guy who like has never aged either, and I don't think he smokes.
No, it's so weird. You'll see a movie like from the 90s and he's in it and he looks very similar. Because I think that guy with this temperament, he seems like a very chill dude. You can't get under. And that also kind of is a secret to longevity. I had a patient of mine like that recently where she really never worked out or anything, but she's doing okay. And she's like in her late 70s. But now, like, I think some things are creeping in the door, like hypertension and stuff. But I know why she's okay, because she's like so happy. She's always beaming, positive, uplifting in her stories, So that is a type of immunization, just like health and exercise, is the mental attitude and being positive. So if you can get both, then you're onto something,
Yeah, I agree. What do they say? Like when you speak positive thoughts to plants, they respond well. So I think it's the whole idea. If you kind of like keep, a good outlook and try to find the good and the bad and how to grow, you kind of like just notice that things get better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's all self-love, my friends. Self-love. Mental, emotional, physical health.
So are you from Arizona, Nicole?
No, I'm originally from Ohio.
Oh wow! So was this like how did you find this place?
So I was in Ohio my entire life, and by the time I was picking a residency, I was like, I have to get out of Ohio. And I always liked the idea of going out west. And I ended up picking my program for residency in Atlanta, Georgia, Emory. And then I was still like, I want to go west. I want to go west. And my aunt was living out here, and I had some really good friends out here who were like, just come check it out. I think you would really like it. And they're like, it's a dry heat. And it did not click. I'm like, what's a dry heat? Like, I've never heard. I just don't understand. And I came out to visit a couple times during my second year and then this past year. And I just was like, I'm sold. Because even during the hot months here, it's like 2-3 months that you don't really go outside. If you're in Ohio, you don't go outside, hang out like December through February, sometimes part of March.
Yeah, that's true. It's a different type of hiding from the weather. Well, you always have the pool option here, which you don't over there, right?
No, Ohio closes the pool early.
Yeah. I remember in Michigan, it was like that. I felt like there was like 30 days where the pool was available between the thunderstorms and like the available weekend. Like we were literally like, oh my God, we really made it into the pool. And it's like thunderstorm. And like, okay, we got to get out of the pool and wait for next year. That was my pool experience. But there's a lot of lakes. So there's like a huge lake life in Michigan. So people in Michigan in the summer are just like always on a lake, which is really nice. But there's a lot of people who do that here too. Do you do any lake stuff, Dr. Kim?
Nah,
No?
I like staying home and vaping.
Oh my God, you said you're gonna quit, dude. You're embarrassing us still. We just got done talking about it.
I make up for it by running and lifting weights.
They're gonna like see your corpse one day. They're like, "Oh, Dr. Kim, look, this guy's jacked." And then they open up to look at the lungs, and it's like, where's the lung tissue? How is this guy alive? That's how I imagine your autopsy. Is that weird? I'm kidding. God knows what they'll find in me.
As long as my heart's good.
Things will crawl out like. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so Nicole, you're from Ohio. Give us a kind of rundown of your resume, school, training, why you went into podiatry, what your philosophy is, what you're passionate about. Just, telling some patients about your, what you love about your job, what you want to do for them.
Got it. So when I was 11, actually I started having knee problems when I was playing soccer. I met an orthopedic surgeon, and I was like, oh, medicine seems cool. And then when I was in high school, I had to have knee surgery. I was like, okay, I want to go to medicine. So in undergrad, I was all convinced that I was going to go the orthopedic route. That's all I wanted to do. At the same time, I grew up riding horses, and I showed competitively. I had this huge horse that he was amazing and great if we were on the same page. If we weren't, we had some issues. So it was always fun. Whenever he would have a hoof problem, I took care of it. And we have a saying with horses, no feet, no legs, no horse. At the same time, my job, I worked at Dillard's and I sold shoes, and I was really good at it. So you have to support your feet. And someone's like, have you heard of podiatry? And I'm like, what's podiatry? And I looked into it. I'm like, so you're just like an entire foot specialist. You can do more or less any bone procedure. You can do tendon, you can do soft tissue, wound care. I was like, this is pretty nifty.
Yeah.
And then
cool.
Yeah. So my horse got me into it. And then when I was in podiatry school, it's actually how I got into running, which is one of my favorite pastimes, is doing different races, exploring. I got to go on all these different trails to go running up there. And then I went to Emory, Decatur for my residency. I wanted to go somewhere that's going to give me a very thorough education, that's going to push me, which they definitely did. They pushed me to figure out my limits and how to go past it. So that's one thing that I've always been like, okay, even if you're exhausted, even if you've had something stressful going on back home, patient care is like number one priority. Like focus on that, and everything else just kind of like falls into place.
Mm.
So basically, whenever I have free time, I'm either volunteering, working with horses, running, or reading a book sitting by the pool, to be honest.
Are you volunteering with horses now?
I'm still looking for a place down here. I was volunteering back in Georgia at this farm called Chastain. It was amazing. So I'm hoping that I can try to do something like that on the weekends here, just because I love horses.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of horse culture here. And,
I heard there's a river you can kind of like go on and like paddleboard and see horses. So I do want to do that.
I don't think I've done that. I've heard of something like that. Wild horse. I know there's actually some wild horses in Arizona too. Someone told me about that. There's wild donkeys. One time I was working in one of these northern towns, and in the middle of the night, man, this freaking donkey, and it's like a windy road, just walking across. It wasn't like a deer. Just he's like, dude, I almost killed us. He's just walking, and they're just wild donkeys, apparently.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I would say,
I'm sorry.
oh, I was just going to talk about like my philosophy of patient care.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So my philosophy with patient care is I want to try to be ahead of any pathology they could develop. So for example, diabetes, monitoring, stopping before they get the infection, be like, hey, we've got a pressure point here. What can we do to offload this to prevent you from having problems down the road? With patients who want reconstructive surgery, elective, it's the whole, this is your foot. We'll do surgery when you're ready. I don't want to push someone to do surgery when they're not ready for it. It's the whole idea that these are your options. Let's try the conservative. If that fails, we'll then go to surgery. And then for patients in the hospital who do have infections, who are treating, having like that multi-team approach. So having the hospital manage the blood sugars. If we need cardio on to make sure that they're surgically cleared to have procedures, vascular ID, kind of like you're like a football team working to get the patient healed. I think that's the best way to reduce readmission rates.
Well, I've certainly like come a long way with my knowledge of the importance of foot care, and I actually have a slide from our last discussion because this came up the last time we were talking. You guys want to talk while I bring this up? I pulled out one of my old slides that kind of illustrates this.
Sure.
I forgot how to share it though. Do you have
do
it on the computer?
Yeah, just go ahead.
Do you do it on the computer or do you do it through this?
I have no idea. I don't know if you can do it on the phone.
Okay. Well, it was one of those slides that showed that when you get an amputation, how your mortality goes up like huge. You're basically gonna die within a year and a half or 2 years, or compared to not having an amputation. The whole immobility cascade, we were talking about that last time. You become debilitated, then you catch a UTI, and it's just a horrible, horrible way to go. And
Yes.
it starts with mobility issues.
And then a lot of patients say if you have left foot ulcer, once you get one, you're like within a couple months at like 25-50% to get it again. So it's just that
the recurrence of it. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a huge aspect. And then, I mean, sometimes it's hard to completely empathize with people, because like if I get a splinter, for example, like in one of my fingers, that will occupy my consciousness, you know? Oh, perfect.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
See, I'm a good intern. Hassan says jump, I jump.
No, you know what? Because like in my career, like there was an intersection where we just started seeing more vascular than cardio, and at that time the interventional modalities got so much easier, so it didn't necessarily need surgery. So it was like a congruence of a lot of things, like public awareness, and the group that I was with was looking more for peripheral arterial disease along with coronary disease, because there's like a huge overlap. And I'm like, wow, like there's so many people that need this. And there's been huge practices that have been built around this, right, Dr. Kim? That's pretty much all the big groups. They tap into this vascular space. So what is this slide? I can't see it very well. Can you read it, Dr. Kim? Since you're my
No, it's a basic slide of increased mortality year after year on minor amputation versus major amputation. This one doesn't have like without an amputation, so we don't have really comparison.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, the point is we want to prevent amputation. That's the whole piece about everything. So the whole hit it on the nail. Hit the nail on the head about preventative medicine. The more I practice, the more I realize, God, we got to just tell these people to practice preventative medicine. We got to practice preventative medicine, healthier lifestyle, controlling diabetes, getting routine nails checked, diabetic foot nails checked routinely, whether they have any problems or not. It's sort of like going to dentist. Get it done. Just go get it checked out. They don't know. With the diabetes, they have the peripheral neuropathy. They don't feel the problem. They can't see it sometimes.
Yeah.
Because body habit is more, obesity or difficult to, look at. And some people even have difficulty cutting their own nails, and it cuts their skin. There's so much problems with it. The importance is podiatry is sort of like a primary care. Gotta go get your feet checked out, whether you're healthy or not, but especially if you have diabetes or any sorts of medical condition, it's critical for preventative medicine to go see your doctor, get it checked out. I think a lot of people have this fear that, if I go to my doctor, they're going to find something wrong and they're going to do surgery. That's not, we don't do that. We don't do that. We want to prevent them from getting sick. Like, for example, vascular, we want to prevent people from getting DVTs or arterial, peripheral arterial disease or the arteries narrowing. We can prevent that, but they don't come to see us until it's way too late. Now we got to do bypass, angioplasty, cath, stenting, and then it fails, and then it progressively leads to amputation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's so much nuance there too. Like even we talk about surgery or amputation, and Nicole can explain this like way better. Obviously, like it's one thing to have one toe or two toes, or versus a TNT versus higher up. Like the mortality and the morbidity goes up significantly. So that's a whole other thing as well. Like, maybe we did end up having to amputate, but then that should be the final straw. Lifestyle changes have to be addressed and proper surgery done, rather than, I mean, even this day and age, you still get, there was an article I read not too long ago, like 25% of amputees or people that underwent amputations did not have any type of vascular assessment, no imaging. Oof. Even now in the modern era. I'm not making this up. It was 25%. I can probably find the article. So it was like, wow. Like that is crazy. And it's like all these like rural America, you know, Mississippi type areas where the diet is not good and healthcare access is not great, but it's totally preventable, you know?
I completely agree. It is. One thing that one of my attendings and I in residency looked at is how to prevent readmission rates for like diabetic foot infections, and talking about how you have to have that team approach, like check the blood flow. If they've got good blood flow, proceed with what you need to do. If you're like, hey, I don't feel pulses, let's get the arterial duplex, call vascular and say, hey, do you need to do anything before I do intervention? Because I don't want to cut a toe off that's infected and find out, oh, this is a hiss, they don't have blood flow, because then that leads to further problems. So I think a lot of this is stuff that's like, I wonder if there's a way to like screen people at a younger age, or like do questionnaires and let the primary care to be like, hey, you probably should just get this checked out sooner versus later to prevent any issues.
That's a good idea. Sort of like a mental health depression screening questionnaires that a lot of primary cares have. Like, are you depressed? How are you feeling? Same thing. Like, hey, how your body's doing? You know?
Yeah.
Are you able to walk okay? Does anything hurt? Let's go get it checked out.
Do you have a family history? Have you ever smoked? Have you ever had a stroke? Like, I just think there's a way to catch it sooner. I just think there needs to be like maybe some sort of screening you can do, or like, hey, you have a family member who had a heart attack or who's had peripheral artery disease. You have to get seen by this age and just be monitored.
And yeah, those kind of things, we just have to bring awareness to the public, awareness to the general practitioners and other doctors. Because, you know, primary care doctors, they're overworked, underpaid, and they're so busy with doing everything. It's our responsibility as sort of a specialty, you know, specialty doctors